This is my new office setup.
So today we're going to go into the merch drop that happened, the OMG shirts. India did not happen. Thoughts on scaling, being a one-man team. I made my first hire, someone to help me out. I'm going to talk about content creation in the space of pickleball. It should apply even outside of pickleball as well. I'm going to talk about what's working, the shortcomings of some brands, why some brands fail, why some brands succeed, and what makes pickleball different, what some brands do really, really well. And I'm going to be going to the JOOLA event in Las Vegas next week. They're going to be talking about the new product, which should be the 4S. Yeah, talk about content strategy the past 2 or 3 weeks as far as what I've done and the project with Carbon. Going to go over the Selkirk 008, my first impressions. Also, I'm going to talk about the 11SIX24 because a lot of people seem to be liking that paddle and talking about that paddle. I mean, how could you not? That paddle is like, what, $150 with a discount code? Crazy. I'm also going to talk about the Selkirk shoes. They sent me 2 pairs. I was also one of the ones to receive the prototype model last year. Let's get into it. I'm either going to really enjoy this or I'm going to shit my pants. Wait to find out. But this unpasteurized raw milk from a local farm. What's going on? Day after the race. It was cold. I think it was like 30 degrees, which is good. It was a little bit windy. Had some headwinds, but mostly tailwinds. And yeah, finished at a 1 hour, 25 minute and 12 second finish time. That's great. My goal was a 1 hour and 25. So missed it by, I wanted like sub 125, missed it by 12 seconds, but it's all good. Don't really have any injuries or anything. As soon as I was done with the race, walked over to my buddy's place who lives downtown, and we went and got breakfast together, and then I went straight to the sauna. That, I've never done that before, and that was super, super helpful. My knee, my like left knee did not feel good. My ankles didn't feel good. Did 30 minutes of the sauna. Perfect. Like I'm going on my trip tomorrow, I'm going out to California, visit a paddle brand, get them on the podcast. They have a new paddle that's coming out at the end of this month. That's very exciting. I've been testing this paddle. I love this paddle. Yeah, super cool. They've done, looks like they've done some like interviews and stuff with other people already. That seems to be the new direction that I think the pickleball community is going towards. They're just finally understanding the power of content and content creators. And I mean, it was already proven, right? Chris and John Q and Pickleball Effect, they were able to push a lot of paddles through their affiliate sales and through their reviews, but now it's becoming more of like an event. Oh, this is for the iPhone. So another iPhone accessory I got. This is really cool. So I think there's a limitation to how long you can film with the iPhone 16 or any of these iPhones, and when you're filming video and at 4K 60. So I got this plugs into the bottom. This is 1 terabyte. Also, shout out to the greatest cookie company ever. What up? We got the grocery haul. All right, so got the half marathon in a few days. We got, look at these. Someone sent me some grips. We got the strawberries. What do we got here? Pasture raised Trader Joe's, baby. All right. Berries. Trying to up my fruit game, you know? Grapefruit. Not a giant orange. Grapefruit number 2. Let's see, we got bacon. I'll show you why we got bacon. Yo, these are like crack for me. I'm obsessed with dried mangoes. Again, dried mangoes. I will say, when you go to Trader Joe's, there is a difference between the just mango slices and the organic dried mangoes. These organic dried mangoes have more fruit, if you will. The just mango slices, yeah, I guess it's in the name, but I didn't know that at first. It's just, it feels, yeah, just very like thin slices as opposed to the fruit. It's just not as like whole. These have like a bunch of, I don't know what it's called. The whatever isn't contained inside the mango. You know, the flesh. I don't know if flesh is the right word. Cantaloupe. Oh yeah. Watermelon. As a runner, watermelon's huge. It's not even summertime yet, but go to the grocery store a lot and get vegetables. These are called Earthwise. My ex got me these like years ago. This is like 5 years old. But I use these instead of getting those plastic bags. You know, just trying to be kind to the earth. Baguette, baby. All right, so what we're gonna do is we got the baguette. We're gonna throw it in the oven and then we slice it. And then we put some cheese on top. We cook these eggs. I'm gonna scramble them. I'm a big scramble person. Then we put a slice of bacon. And this is my favorite Trader Joe's pickup, I think. Korean style beef short ribs. Yeah. 1, 2. How many has he got? 3. We got one more. 4. These are so freaking good. They're $13.99, I think. So they're good. They're tasty. I like them. I'm Korean. And I approve. Yeah, I think that's it. Today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 4 days until the Austin Marathon. I'm doing the half and I'm doing it with one of my friends. I'm gonna pace her. She's looking for like an 8:30 pace. I've never paced anyone before, so it's gonna be very interesting. But I'm gonna pace her, which will be a really cool experience. It's cool to help someone else achieve their goals. Yeah, just trying to be a little like less selfish this year. If you watch my previous videos, I talk about my intention for the year is more. So just, you know, trying to do more for other people. Yeah, I'm excited about it. And honestly, I don't think I would want to push the Austin. At this point, I just want a PR, and the Austin courses, it looks dangerous out there. It's hilly. It's just very hilly. So, and I'm still kind of feeling it from the 3M Austin International, which was like a month ago. PR'd that one, which was great. It's a really good run. And yeah, I'm excited. So I'll probably try to find like a marathon to do later this year. Definitely want to get some more tournaments in this year too. So, yo, if you're a 4.5, maybe you're a 5.0, you want to get your duper bumped up, hit me up. I'm a 4.6. So if we win some games, you know your duper is going to go up. And yeah, I'd be down to travel to some tournaments too. So ideally some PPAs. It would be cool to try out some more local ones. Just because they'd be like cheaper and you just do like a day. You won't have to wait around a long time. So that would be cool. But yeah, this is the grocery haul. Oh yeah. And I will show you the supplements. Got the creatine, and there's this brand that sent me some stuff recently called Active Blend. I've been taking these Core 5 almost every day. We got multivitamins, got K2, got joint health, and fish oil. Supplements are interesting. To me, supplements, for the most part, many of them feel sub-perceptual. I don't always notice anything, but I'm sure there's a lot happening. Or some people believe it's just a really expensive pee. But I don't know, there's definitely something to it. Like I could definitely tell with creatine, you definitely notice the water weight, but also creatine. There's just been a lot of beneficial research behind creatine. Even the neurological effects, as well as just like recovery, muscle recovery in your body. But Another one is like caffeine. Caffeine is a very noticeable effect, has a very noticeable effect. I used to think fish oil was just expensive pee, but when I say expensive pee, I mean you just like piss out the supplements. But what I noticed is some of the research that came out said it's not so much about the like brain effects or neurological effects, but it's actually improves your liver. Don't quote me on that, but it came from the kind of scientist, nutritionist, Rhonda Patrick. She's put out a lot of research on that, and I generally trust what she says, and I like what she says. So yeah, so I got that. And then they also have this apple cider vinegar. I haven't tried this out. These are apple cider vinegar gummies. I gag when I have apple cider vinegar, the liquid. So I can't even imagine where is it? Oh, I guess I ran out. I can't even imagine what chewing on it must taste like, but it's cool. I talked to the founder of this brand. He's in pickleball. He's like a senior pro. He's not senior pro, but I think he's trying to make his way up there, but he's a solid senior player, and he's gonna start moving all of these capsules into gummies. So that's cool. I think what was cool is he was talking about he was talking about one of the challenges with it, and a challenge is that some people don't like the sugar aspect for the gummies, and he was saying something about how you need the sugar to bind with the nutrient or the chemical or the mineral, something along those lines. So yeah, it's interesting. Magnesium, huge, really big on magnesium. So yeah, magnesium's awesome. That's another one. You don't really notice it too much, but I'm sure over time there's just things that could happen. Like, it's very interesting. You might not notice a like positive effect, but that could also go like inversely. Like, what's to say what you took helped you not get injured? Like, you wouldn't really know if you didn't get injured, right? Like, it could be happening all the time that you're not getting injured because you're taking certain things, but you know, that's just bro science logic. So probably not 100% right on that, but it is interesting. I'm gonna keep taking supplements now. I am willing to admit that I probably don't get everything through my diet. So yeah, if there are any other supplement brands out there, maybe they do stuff different from what these guys offer. You guys have some other supplements, and I would love a creatine or a protein supplement brand partnership. Be very interested in that. Yeah, electrolytes for sure. I have a lot of electrolyte powders here. Here's one of them. I take this one all the time. I really like this one. For me, as long as I don't wake up with a migraine, that works. Then I know it works and it was effective for me. Different ones have different flavors. There's some brands I've tried where I still ended up with a migraine. So to me, that's not a good sign for that particular brand. And then I have this Good On Ya. This is like a hydration, daily electrolytes and minerals. That one's been good too. I've been taking that. I like to switch it up just because of flavor. Sometimes I get bored of certain ones. This one's a little sweet. I just got this on Amazon. And these I love taking. If you have any of these problems, maybe not right now just because of the weather, but during the summers, if you have any issues with like electrolytes and maybe you get migraines, or you don't feel 100% the next day, I would highly recommend getting some of these electrolyte things. This is Salt Stick, popular brand in the running community, and it's popular as far as what I saw on Amazon too. But yeah, that's it. Dope. So let's start off with the merch. This is the OMG shirt, One More Game. Here, backside. Yeah, this shirt was really interesting. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted. The process was much longer than I anticipated, and all of it was just because of the design. We went through a few iterations. I did not like the designs. They just weren't hitting, and I ended up having to pay more than what I was expecting for the design consultations, but I think part of that was definitely my fault because I have to give the right inspiration to the artist, but it came out exactly how I wanted. I really, really like this design. Yeah. One more game, you know? Those people who always say, just one more game, one more game. After this one, I'm going to leave. One more game. It's so funny. But I also wanted something that looked modern, kind of streetwear style. Yeah, but you know my style, just that minimal look. But it's just something that stands on its own. It doesn't look like it was a design that came from somewhere else. Of course, there's inspiration that came from other places, but I haven't seen any designs that look like this one. So I want something to stand on its own. I want it to feel like its own thing. And I was really happy with how it turned out. So far, we have some larges and some extra larges left. But the small and the medium and the 2XL is all sold out. It also launched on my website, which is buildingpickleball.net. The India trip, that did not happen. If you watched the previous vlog, I was planning on going out to India. That did not happen. I was going to go out there with a paddle brand and film some of their pros. They just chose to go a different route, and that worked out because I was able to put a lot of focus into the carbon project. I will get to that in a second. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is just having like this one-man team and this idea of scaling. Oh yeah, by the way, this is, if you're watching this, yes, this is a vlog, but this is like a podcast for myself. I want to add these visual elements, of course, to make it more interesting and just make it fun. But yeah, this is going to be like a version of a podcast where I'm just going to talk about everything that's going on. And one of the things that has been on my mind ever since I started this thing was the idea of scaling and whether or not to scale. One of the content creators that I look up to is Casey Neistat, and he did this interview with Rich Roll, and Rich talked about working with other people, what that process was like, and Casey just talked about how much he hated it. He worked with some of the greatest people, some of the best people, most talented, but at the end of the day, things ended up taking longer than he expected, and they just didn't turn out quite how he thought. For me, in my own personal experience right now, I don't want to scale, and it's interesting. Something I love about the idea of not scaling and just having everything to myself. I don't have to wait on others for decisions to be made. Not to say, again, that I have the best ideas, but I just like moving quick. I like moving fast, and then we figure things out, and then we fail, and then we iterate and we keep moving. I also, at this current moment, I'm not like enticed by the idea of being this massive entity. I love the creative aspects of everything that I'm doing right now, like figuring out lighting setups, being able to give you guys my take on maybe it's like a paddle, maybe it's a product, maybe it's just content strategy stuff, but like everything is coming from my own perspective and it's coming from my own thoughts. And I feel like it's more authentic that way as well, as opposed to getting multiple voices and then things become diluted and it's no longer the brand that you thought it was or that you were originally attracted to. I'm sure there's a lot of pros to scaling. Obviously you can probably move faster, but I don't know, like I like my workload that I have. At times it can definitely be overwhelming, and that's fine. Like that is a very natural thing to happen. And if things feel overwhelming, then that's when I start saying no, or I start telling people, hey, I can't start this project now, but I can start it later on down the line. And everything still seems manageable, and like I don't go in over my head. I don't overpromise on things. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I just don't want to get like, yeah, I just don't have this vision for becoming this massive thing. And I finally feel okay with that. I don't need to be, I think a lot of it comes from like just being greedy. Fine with the pace that things are going right now. Recently though, I did bring on like my first hire or someone to help me out with some projects, and that is my brother. That is like one person that I feel great about bringing on, working with, and getting his help. And I don't think he's necessarily a professional in any sense that, as far as the things that I bring him on for, but he just has the right attitude, right? And you hear that a lot. That's why I don't base things off like the paper. I don't base things off like paper resumes and their portfolios and different things like that. Like, I'm sure people have a lot of great qualifications, but at the end of the day, for me, the attitude is everything. You can learn a lot of that other stuff. And something else I really like is that every person that I work with knows that they're working with me. They're not working with someone else. I'm not passing the work off onto anyone else. They're working with me. You know the source of the decisions and the creativity that's coming from me. So like, if you're wanting to replicate a certain thing, or you like the idea or the execution of something I've done in the past, then we can go along in that same path. Okay, so the next topic is what I notice in the market, shortcomings of brands, failures, successes, and what makes pickleball different. Recently, I made a post about this facility owner. So I happened to be at this one facility. It was like 9 o'clock. I was shooting content for them, helping out a friend who's on retainer with them, but I was helping out this friend. And I know the owner of the facility, and I saw him walking in. He's walking down to the courts, and he ends up going to the open play court. Mind you, this guy is like a 4'5". I think he's like a 5'0" in tennis. Of course, he's older, but I think he's like in the top senior tennis players in Texas, or maybe just like Austin. I know he plays tournaments. He's won tournaments and all those great things. So obviously he is playing down. And then I started to watch him more, and I started to see like, oh, he's not there to be competitive. So I started seeing him like really talking to the other players, and just like they are gathering research. He was talking with the community, he was talking with his customers, the players, and he was trying to understand like what their experience is like, how to improve it. It might not have been that blatant or obvious, but him just having a conversation with players, and just, if nothing comes up, if there are no issues and they're just talking about how great of a time they're having, that's like a really good sign. But I know that they're trying to make adjustments to like the lighting and things like that. So that's essentially what the post was about. The post was about a successful business in pickleball generally has a person who was into pickleball before they started the business. They just love it for the sport. And you're going to have a lot of people on both sides. You're going to have people who just love the sport and are really bad at business. You're going to have people who just love business and they want to get into pickleball so they can make I wouldn't say a quick buck, but they want to make a living off it. They want to do certain things. So what I've started to see as far as the people that I've talked to is the people who know pickleball understand the most important part, which is the community. And when you understand the community, you understand like what people want. What do some brands do really well? They establish credibility, they establish community, which is listening to the customers on the things that they like, the things that they don't like. You develop trust with them, you deliver on expectations, you surprise them, you delight them. Sometimes people just deliver like a really great product, and you've seen those in paddle brands, especially. Some failures of brands in pickleball. So what leads to failing businesses in pickleball, or just not accelerating at the rate that they were expecting, is there's just no real market need. So they don't understand the community. They don't understand what the community actually wants. There's poor branding, bad execution, bad timing, not understanding the market or the trends, and just ignoring customers or just not even listening to them at all. Look, word travels fast in pickleball, so if you do something bad or wrong, people find out pretty quickly because of the tightness of the community and like the allegiance to it. People will turn their back on things, and it could just take a lot of work to build that trust or reputation back. So you might be asking like, how do you start your brand then? So you might want to position yourself as a key person of influence, or you have an innovative product or offering, or you create something unique for a specific audience, or you solve a problem for the consumer at a lower cost than the rest of the market. And that brings me to, and a great example of that is this brand. Vatic Pro was also, I would say, really good at that last year. I don't know if their tech has kept up, but I know this brand has done like a really, really good job of that. You know, when SixZero was selling the double black diamond, they came out with, what was it called, like the Huarache, and then Chris talked about it, and it just blew the brand up. But they didn't just stop there. They kept going, which was great, which is not easy to do. They kept the momentum, they kept the reputation that they were building, and they continued to do the thing that they were good at, which was taking products that are very popular and then offering them at a lower cost. David, the owner, is, I think, a small team, so it's great to see what he's doing. These shapes were not being done before. I don't know if these are like good or bad shapes, but yeah, the shapes are very interesting for sure. But as far as like just the expectation of the paddle performance and then bringing them in at a lower cost, just like great move by this guy. Yeah, very interesting. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the JOOLA event that's happening next week. It's there's 2 groups going out. I'm in group A. I believe the Olsen sisters are going. Kyle Trenga, which is Braden's co-host on Pickleball Effect, and then also Lewis from Pickleball Pursuit. Yeah, super excited about that. Yeah, I get hyped up whenever I get these opportunities to go to these events with this particular group because I consider them like my colleagues. I'm not a reviewer by any means, but they're like the guys who I get along with them because they're creatives. Yeah, like Chris and Will were super welcoming the first time I met them, so we've just kind of kept that going. And Lewis was someone who I met more recently through the podcast, and then hanging out with him while he was in town. And he also came up here for a tournament too. But yeah, super cool. And this will be the first time I'm meeting Kyle, but we get along. We have like the same taste in music for the most part. We both like to lift. I've never played him in pickleball, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully I get to play him. Yeah, these JOOLA events, when I talk with brands about doing like these media events and things like that, I usually always talk about JOOLA because they were to me, or at least in my experience, they were one of like the first to do these media type events. They did one 2 years ago. It was in Maryland, and it was the very first announcement of the Perseus. Yeah, it was the Perseus, and also signing Colin Johns and Anna Bright, which was super cool. So yeah, they had it in Maryland. It was at a Lifetime. And I remember I had a few interviews, and the audio was awful, and people got very upset, rightfully so. And the event was super cool. That was the first time I met Chris and Will. My brother actually was at that event. He helped film with me. But yeah, anyways, so that was the first event. The second event was in New Orleans last year. That event, I mean, the first event was just a 1-day thing. This next one, oh yeah, the first event, also Steve Kuhn was there, so that was super cool. And the second event in New Orleans was a 2-day event. They had us staying at this super nice hotel, and everyone was there, like Isaac, Chris, Braden, John Q, Will was there, and of course like the pros. Oh yeah, the pros, they had Tyson, Simone, Ben, Colin, Anna. I think that's it. That was like a great event. It's like, man, how much better can these really get? These are so cool. They set it up great. There was like great catering, and we got to like explore this distillery of the guy who owns a bunch of liquor brands, but one of the most notable ones is of course Fireball. So super cool. And then this year it's going to be in Vegas. There's 2 groups going out. I didn't know who like the other people were, but of course I know Group A, and yeah, this is going to be about the 4S, so that's going to be really cool. I don't know what to expect about that paddle. I imagine it's going to be something like the True Foam. It like has to be, right? And we saw Ben playing with it in this past event, or at least something that looks like it. My prediction is that the paddle is going to be like the True Foam, just going to be an all foam paddle. Could be wrong, but I think they're going to scale it back a little bit. Yeah, which is interesting. Anyways, content strategy and carbon. So we're going to go over content strategy for any of the content creators out there. And if you're listening, this part is for you. So I went on a full-on content assault with that carbon project. mindset going into any of these projects is always, how can we get the most views and the most projects out of this like short, brief amount of time that I'm going to be spending with these people or this brand. So I went out to California for 3 days. Obviously, like first and last day were mostly like travel days, and then we had like one full day. But I imagine you saw the content. I was out there a week before the release. I think by like a few days after the release of the paddle, probably reached like a cumulative like 100,000 views across all the projects. So I posted reels to Instagram. I posted the pre-going out there, and I posted a clip every day that I'm out there. And then I posted 3 videos, which was the review, the podcast, and the vlog documentary type thing. And then also posted clips onto TikTok as well. But yeah, that's like my strategy. It's content batching. It's like, how many different pieces of content can we create for this single event? But also like, how many different things can I show you guys as far as the content as well? And also, that was like a great learning lesson, because I was like, okay, we can get a bunch of pieces of content, but what would be like the most important pieces, or what would be the pieces of content that would interest people, or help them understand more about the reason I'm out there. So it's like mostly the focus was the True Foam. And I had some carousel posts that performed really well on Instagram. Like one of them was like, why the True Foam is even important. And I was able to release that before the release of the paddle. So it was just talking about like 100% foam, it's not EVA foam, and just like the benefits of the foam, just like the durability, things like that. And then the second post was, which shape is for you? That's always like a huge topic. Is shape. I mean, look at this. You have like the Pegasus, and you have Selkirk, who released a tour shape. So yeah, shape is just the carbon True Foam. The Genesis was, that one was, there was like a clear distinction between like the 2, the 1, and the 3, and the 2 was the most popular. That was the one that sold out. So that was really interesting. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of my thing on the content side as far as like the carbon project. And I've also had talks with different media brands inside Pickleball. You can probably guess who they are, but they wanted to bring me on to help them out. Things didn't pan out, but what we're going to start to see is these media brands and just channels in general are going to start gravitating towards series, and they're going to start making more personal, like behind the scenes content. If they're gonna follow kind of like my guidance on it, then that's what we're gonna start to see. But we already started to see some of the series happening on the content creator side. So you saw Lewis, he does the he started Pursuit of 4.0 Gold, and I think the next one was like Pursuit of 4.5, and he's gonna keep it going. The series idea is great, right? Because YouTube is essentially television now, and it's garnering more views than Netflix and its different streaming services. And then Chris, of course, he has his podcast, which is an ongoing series, and he had talked about wanting to do vlogs. I don't know if he kept up with it. He's also done, what else has Chris? He has his series of like, I think Road to 5.0 or something like that. And yeah, these different media brands, I've been telling them, you know, like, podcast is great, right? But it's also been a thing for a while now, and it's great. What more do people want to see? People want to see like maybe a thing like a transformation challenge. Like people want to see like where you were and then where you're headed or where you're going and what you're trying to achieve or strive for, and just seeing that journey. If it's not that, then it could be behind the scenes, it could be vlogs, it can be educational pieces as well. So yeah, it's interesting. These media brands have a lot more money than any of us content creators, with maybe the exception of Chris. I say that to say that like they have so much opportunity, and I feel like the podcast is just like the lowest hanging fruit. So great, you can knock that out, but these guys have like the connections, they have the resources,
And if you're going to get someone, this goes back to my point about content batching. If you're going to get someone in town for a podcast, why not leverage that time to do something else? Especially if you're going to get pros, why don't you get them to do educational content with you? Yeah, essentially look at YouTube channels as TV networks. Okay, let's get into Selkirk 008. I had actually... Let's go over this progression. You had this thing. This was one of the biggest flops for a paddle. Like, how many pros on their... How many of their sponsored pros are using this? Yeah, I don't see this paddle out in the wild at all. So you had that. Around the time that launched, they had also sent me the 008. This is the prototype. Notice the white edge guard. So I wasn't able to take photos or really talk. This is so gritty. I wasn't really able to talk about it. But this paddle, I actually trashed it. I have a friend who works at Selkirk who helped me with like throwing in the event and everything, getting Selkirk as a sponsor. Anyways, I won't get too far into it. And I texted her and I was like, this is the biggest piece of dog. And I was like so upset and I was just so furious because I'm like, when is Selkirk gonna put out something that the people want? It's mind blowing to me. Like, I just don't understand it. They have sponsored pros, they have all these resources, they have their own compound, they have a lab and everything, and like Tom Barnes is an engineer. Yet they keep putting out stuff that people don't want. And if they do start putting out stuff that people want, they find ways to just mess it up. Like, why is there a 6-inch handle? How many people have been asking for a 6-inch handle? I just don't understand. And mind you, there's a ton of different sizes for the 008, tons of different sizes and shapes. But this one, once I put weight onto it, it made the craziest. I don't even understand. But this is why I always say to customize your paddles. But it made a massive difference. And the moment I did that, I was like, oh, this is like a good paddle. This is cool. But this one does have that, different core and everything. It doesn't have it listed on here at all. But I remember that was something that my friend was telling me about. And this is like perfect, right? 16 millimeter. I think it's a 5.5 inch handle. Just like your classic Invictus shape. But yeah, this was a cool paddle. But then the True Foam came out, and so I just gave the True Foam more attention than this thing. But that brings me to the 008, the official release, the Pure Foam. So you have the Tour 13, 16. This thing is ridiculous. A 10 millimeter paddle. I don't know how. I know like one person that plays with a 10 millimeter paddle. It's so odd. This surprisingly did not feel that bad, but not something I would main. So yeah, I tested these out. Here's a 16, and I did not put any weight on that one, but I did end up putting weight on the 13, and I actually really liked this. Do I like it as much as the True Foam? No. Maybe the reason I actually the reason I have this one here and not the Epic shape is because I didn't like the Epic at all. It wasn't like when I grabbed the True Foam 2 or the Genesis 2, where I was like, wow, this shape is like perfect. Or even the Pegasus. I think the one that I tested was the 13 of the Epic shape for the 008, and I just didn't like it. Sweet spot didn't feel good. It just, something about that paddle just did not feel good. This was probably my most favorite feeling one. Even then, I don't like a 6-inch handle. Just, yeah, it's tough adjusting. You can see some marks there, but yeah, I don't mind the Tour shape though. I like it. It's like their hybrid shape. It's cool. Yeah, I just don't get why Selkirk doesn't keep things simple like the way that Carbon did with their True Foam. They just have 3 sizes, right? They have their standard, elongated, and then the regular, if you want to call it. Yeah. And they're going to come out with the 4, which is going to be the hybrid shape. I just don't get why they can't like stick to the basics. It's like they want to go in the right direction, but then they tweak something to diminish whatever gains there were from going in that direction. I don't understand it. They have so many pros, they have so many resources, and then they just keep putting out these random products. Like, how many pros are using the 008? They're just not. It's so odd to me. You would think a brand like them would be able to come out with products that just like really stand out. Anyways, yeah, the initial prototype is great. Really liked this actually. I might actually pull it back out. I don't know if it's USAP approved, but I might actually start playing with it again. But it hit good. No power. I don't think so. I don't think it had any like significant power. Not like an 11SIX24, not like a 3S. Of course, I won't put True Foam in there because True Foam's not a power paddle, or at least the Genesis isn't. Be right back. I'm gonna grab those shoes. The next topic of conversation is Selkirk's shoes. All right, so the shoes. Selkirk recently released their Selkirk Quartz Strike shoes. Here's a third one. So you have the Quartz Strike Pros, these two. In the beginning of this video, I talked about how I had the prototype. That's this one. Okay, so here it is. Pretty similar, right? Let's say they're actually very similar. The mesh on the top is like a little different. Actually, the sole, also different. I don't know why they went away from that. Quartz Strike Pro? Oh yeah, the soles are the same on these. This is the prototype. I actually like this sole. Okay. So what funny story about this shoe is I ended up getting this shoe and I completely forgot about the embargo on it. And I remember I was playing with it and this happened. That's a hole in there, in case you couldn't tell. That happened on the first day and I just slid with it. And now I remember I posted about it and I was like, why in the heck would you make a court shoe without an inner drag guard? It just made no sense to me. And then they emailed me and like, yeah, you're not supposed to talk about the shoe. I was like, oh, my bad. So I felt really bad about that. But anyways, so they did that. They finally released the actual shoe. Here's the shoe. And a lot of the same characteristics still, which is good. I actually like the shoe. Something big for me, which is such a small detail, is this back thing, this little loop here. Like when you're like grabbing your shoe, like I don't want to dig my fingers in there and then my heel presses up against it. It's not great. Anyways, you could tell they added something there, but the problem is that's not very durable. That's not very solid. Actually, okay, so this is my left foot, so you're not going to see it on there. But actually here it is on the right foot on the Quartz Strike Pros, is that there is, I already wore it out a little. When you look at other brands with quartz shoes, they use a very like thick plastic or rubber material. I think it's usually rubber. This just feels like it's like paint. It's definitely rubber, but it's a very thin coating. Anyways, you're probably looking at these two shoes and you're like, what is the actual difference between these shoes? This one, so when you look at the description, very, very similar. This one has like a 3D printed upper sole or something. I don't know what. It's hard to describe, of course, shoes that are so similar, the difference between shoes that are so similar, but this does not feel good. This is the Quartz Strike Pro. This is like $120. These are the Quartz Strikes. These are $100. I actually like these shoes. My only thing with it is if you ever drag the inside of your toe or the foot when you're dinking or just playing, I would not recommend these shoes. Yeah, here it is. Perfect. Right there. It's already got a hole in it. Or not a hole, but it's already in it. So that's why I say it was like paint, because it's already gone. And it's already into the mesh area, which is so interesting. There's something else there though, when you feel it on the inside, that's not here. It's not here, but it is there. Something there on the inside. Anyways, I forgot to include the really important part about the shoes is that they have a 6-month outsole guarantee. That is awesome. I remember I made a review on shoes for K-Swiss and I talked about them, and something that really stood out is that outsole guarantee. I think Nike has something similar. My buddy JT always takes advantage of that. Sorry, JT, had to rat you out, but he always takes advantage of it, and it's great. He has a new pair of shoes every time I see him, but that outsole guarantee is solid. I haven't worn this shoe enough to say anything about the sole, but it's not worn out anywhere, which is great. But yeah, it's just this inner toe drag guard missing. I just don't know why they didn't include it. Love that they have these loops here just for easier handling. It's a very comfortable shoe. This one's very comfortable. The Court Strike Pro, not comfortable. Not for me at least. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't like the Court Strike Pro. The Court Strike's great and it looks cool. Reminds me of like a Nike SB Dunk from the top. Either like an SB Dunk or the Jordan 1s. I forget which ones. I forget which shoe it is. Yeah, so let's see. This weekend I am going to be racing in the Austin Half Marathon. I'm actually not going to be racing. I'm going to be running it. My friend Alex, she's going to be racing it. She's trying to PR. She's trying to get like a sub 8:30 mile. So we're probably going to shoot for like 8:20, 8:30. Actually, I think my goal is I'm going to try and eat every single thing that's handed out along the way. This is interesting. I always take these events very seriously. Any competition, I take them very seriously. So for me to have this opportunity where I'm just helping someone else achieve their goal and I get to have fun is really, really cool. I'm looking at the list right now. I don't have anything else to talk about. That's it. That's just been like the life update. Thank you again, everyone who's bought the merch. It's like an overwhelming feeling. I don't know the words to describe it. Just the fact that there are people who have bought every single drop. I won't say her name. Super cool. Like I'm pretty sure she's bought every single drop. She always buys 2 shirts. And there's other people who I'm sure I'm forgetting, but there's other people who have bought these drops as well. And for people to buy this one, which I think there's 7 or 6 pieces left, and this is just the 3rd day, means a lot. There's a lot of new names in the orders, which feels really good. Merch is interesting. I don't make like a ton of money from it, but for me it was never about the money for the merch, because arguably I probably lose money with the amount of time I spend just organize everything. But for me, I like it because it's fun. It's fun. And I also want to build a community, like an army, like a building pickleball army of people who just like rep the stuff and who want to say that like they support a creator. Hopefully we just like share similarities in this journey, and that you just appreciate just maybe it's some of the interviews I've had, maybe it's just some of the content I post on Instagram or something. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who's purchased stuff. I appreciate everyone who's DM'd me and has talked about just like, oh man, like love your content. It's so great for this reason. Like it's crazy because like 2 years ago, I didn't come into this with a photo or a video background. I'm just learning everything as I go. And it's very rewarding, very fulfilling. And if there's anyone out there who has any thoughts about pursuing their own thing, I would say go for it. I'm just gonna repeat all the most like cliche things, but like life is too short. If you have a safety net, especially, like go for it. It's gonna be tough, right? But man, like right now my life, like I've been lost for so long. Like you could see it in my background. You could see like I have a Bachelor of Science in Nutrition and Dietetics. I had a bunch of recruiting and sales jobs right out of college, and then I found MMA. I was a personal trainer as well, And I found MMA, did that for 5 years, left that. As soon as I like told my coach I was done, I was just like crying right in front of him. It was just the two of us in my apartment, and I was like crying. I was super emotional. It just sucked that I didn't feel like I got as far as I wanted or had expected. But I think part of it was also that I didn't know what I was going to do next. You know, I had something that I was so like set on, that everything in my life was just about fighting. But that's the life you choose, right? You like choose to really invest yourself in something that you really feel passionate about, or you just believe it. Everyone has this like voice in their head of like, go for it. Like, man, am I good enough to do this? Or like, should I pursue this? It's not the outcome. And I know how cliche that sounds. Like the journey, if you like make it fun and if you really challenge yourself, it's so rewarding because you are able to exceed your expectations and you see it firsthand. But anyways, yeah, like after fighting, I came here. I got into customer support, and again was a pastry cook. And then I got into UX design. I worked for some small stage tech startup, and I did like some social media, very light social media for him. But that was like years ago, so all that's changed. And then I got into content. I just wanted to like, I just saw something which was like somewhat trending at the time, and I was like, man, that would be so cool. Like, let's give it a shot. But I was already playing pickleball, and then I was like, well, not only that, but I saw something that people weren't doing, and I was like, well, why don't I just do it? I could not have predicted that it would lead me to where I am now, which is super cool. Yeah, I don't know, just like I read this thing on Reddit about entrepreneurs, and this person was just posting and being like, do you ever feel like there's no other job for you and that entrepreneurship is like the only route or the only path? That's exactly how I feel. Like, I love being in control. I love having multiple interests that I can pursue. Yeah, I think the control part is really big. Don't know what that says about my childhood or my upbringing or any traumas or anything like that, but I love that I can pursue what I want. I can say no to the things I want. Like, every output is decided by me, and I get to put whatever I want out there. A lot of things absolutely flop, but again, that's like where it comes back to, it's not the outcome. It's like all the things that I was working on leading up to that thing in order to create it was super fulfilling. It's super cool. I love experimenting. If experimenting is for you, if you like being in control, if you like pursuing your own ideas, then like entrepreneurship is great for you. I feel like it never really ends. It is also very isolating. It's very like you're in your own world, which is very interesting. Yeah, I feel like I'm just constantly thinking about it. I've been on dates, I've been hanging out with friends, and I'm just zoned out thinking about like, what's the next video going to be? Like, what did I think about the 008? It's so stupid because like pickleball is just like always on my mind, and creativity and things like that. Just thinking about YouTube comments where people say some hateful things. But no, I appreciate those people. But yeah, that's my end rant. And thank you again for watching another video. Thank you for everyone's support. Hopefully we can do some cool things this year. Yeah, like more events, more content that gets you all involved or gives you guys something back. Like, I just want to find ways to give back to everyone who's invested their time, which is the most important thing in this world, their time into watching my content, commenting, liking. So yeah, I'm going to try and find more ways to just like give back. I don't know what that looks like, but we'll see. I just need I think a big part of that is partnering up with brands. But thanks. I'm out. I will see you next time.